Hello everyone, and welcome to our last but not least final tech talk of the day, and also our final session of the Subsea Connect TV event in the region. Hope you have enjoyed it so far and you are ready to listen to our grand finale. My name is Marina Manning, and I'm the commercial leader for strategic partnerships. As you may tell by my accent, I'm French, but I've been living and working in the UK in the oil and gas industry for the last 15 years. And I'm based in London. Today, I have the pleasure of moderating this session with our three guest speakers, Alistair Mikura, Vidar Strand, and our special guest from Wintershall DEA, Tore Oyan. So,
good afternoon.
Hi. All the topics covered in this session fit very well with our theme of the day, which is about Baker Hughes life of field service offerings. So as you've heard throughout the day in the plenary session earlier and the previous talks, Baker Hughes life of field service offerings is spanning across many areas with our digital capabilities and innovative thinking to develop a smarter approach to life of field for our customers. So today we have showcased to you our intervention solutions, which was our technical session number 1, our digital offerings with our Engage Subsea, which was the session number 2. And now in this session, we are looking specifically at our Subsea tieback extension of life offerings and an example of our plug and abandonment innovative solutions. So the tech talk now will be divided into 3 moments. The first moment will be presented by Alistair Mikura and covers the topic of brownfield extension and tieback solutions. Alistair is based in Bristol. He's a senior product manager looking after the Baker Hughes life of field portfolio within SPS, Subsea Production System. He has been with Baker Hughes for 8 years, covering a variety of technical and project delivery roles. He has a first-class engineering degree from Birmingham and a passion for outdoor pursuit activities. The second moment of the session will be about our cutting-edge technology award candidate Terminator solutions, which is a vessel deployed subsea wellhead cutting system. And Vidar will be presenting it. Vidar joined us from Stavanger today. Vidar is a senior sales manager at Baker Hughes with over 20 years of experience in different roles in the oil and gas business. Vidar is currently the section chair of the Society of Petroleum Engineering in Stavanger. The third moment of the session will be a discussion with testimonials with Tore Oyan, our customer guest, who will be explaining the benefits of the Baker Hughes service solutions for his project and where do we see this technology develop in the future. Tore is currently head of drilling for Dvalin at Wintershall DEA. Tore has extensive experience in drilling and completions, working both offshore and onshore. Tore has a Master of Science degree in Petroleum Engineering and a Master of Management. He joined us from Stavanger today. So over the next 30 minutes, Alistair, Vidar, and Tore will present their respective topics and will share some examples with carefully selected case studies. So hope you enjoy listening and you will find it informative and relevant to you, and that you will be curious to know even more about it afterwards. Please remember, we are looking forward to answering your questions at the end. So please ask your questions by clicking on the icon on the right of your screen. And I'll now hand over to Alistair.
Thank you very much, Marina, and a real warm welcome to everyone joining us for this next installment of Subsea Connect TV Live. And it is live, so anything could happen, but I intend to take you through a little bit about how Baker Hughes are working to address system harmony for rapid brownfield extensions and tiebacks. So let's kick off firstly with a little bit of context. So firstly, what exactly do I mean when I say achieving system harmony? So achieving system harmony is all about being able to expand, upgrade, or develop with minimal disruption to the existing field, be it a tieback, be it an obsolescence issue. It's all about seamlessly integrating into that existing infrastructure maximizing those revenues without causing costly downtime. But it's not always that simple. And what I want to do today is give you a bit of an overview of some of the key challenges we see in this area, and then look at how Baker Hughes are tackling those head on to address them, to deliver for our customers. Then we'll go into looking at the agnostic approach we take when we're trying to solve and deliver on these. And then we'll look at some of the products we've got in our world-class product catalog and how we bring those together in a system offering that's optimized for the specific field. And then we'll finish by just going in, as Marina has said, into a few chosen case studies where we can see these products in action. So let's dive a bit deeper into some of those challenges. So firstly, not surprisingly, seamless system integration. We've talked about it briefly there, but being able to do that is sometimes extremely challenging. A lot of the assets are well established. They potentially might be suffering from degradation. So seamlessly integrating new technology is a challenge. Obsolescence management. Technology goes obsolete. We all know that. We've probably all got an old mobile phone, potentially even a DVD player. Some of us maybe still VCR lying around our home. But technology goes obsolete. So we have to think about how we design for obsolescence. And historically, that was something that was not done well. But it's something that is at the cornerstone of our design philosophy at Baker Hughes. Reliability. We need that reliability through life to optimize and maximize recovery of the field, of the reservoir, not just at the startup, not just through midlife, but throughout life. And then there's a challenge of the CapEx and TOTEX. CapEx, everyone is very well versed in this, but TOTEX is something that Baker Hughes is focusing on as a core fundamental of our Subsea Connect strategy. It's about understanding the cost profile and reducing that through life. We want to be able to maximize every dollar that is invested, because in this day and age, as we're all seeing, we're doing a live event, exploiting digital, the world is changing, and we need to make sure that the dollars invested are returning what they should. And then it's that tie to the future. It's thinking about the innovation, it's looking to the future as to what we might need. And that's where Baker Hughes has got some really, really interesting solutions to bring to the table. So for each of these challenges, how are Baker Hughes addressing them? So let's start with seamless system integration. We have our backwards compatible SEMstar 5 SEM, which we can use to manage obsolescence issues in fields where we've got our legacy SEM options. SEMstar 5 really is a cornerstone of being able to do that. We're able to integrate a backwards compatible SEMstar 5 into those existing fields. Obsolescence management. Again, just picking up on the foundations set by SEMstar 5. When we developed it as a SEM platform, we put obsolescence management and obsolescence at the core of its design, with regards to the board design, with regards to the cards, so that we can manage obsolescence through that product's life cycle. And reliability, and not wanting to sound like a broken record, but SEMstar 5. The AREDA data that we have on SEMstar 5 for its reliability is market and world leading. We exceed the mean time between failures across the board. And that is something that is fundamental, that keeps coming up when we talk about reliability and through life performance with our customers. And then CapEx and TOTEX reduction. We really are focused on this at Baker Hughes. And that's where we bring in our structured product catalog. And that's where we can bring in the different products and bring them together as a system and then deliver them to you to get that TOTEX reduction. And understanding those cost profiles and coupling them up with those product offerings really does yield some significant benefits. And then the tie to the future. And this is really where we're investing in our Aptara technology platform. And then when we couple that Aptara technology platform, which has an eye on what's next, looking at what adjacencies we can learn from other technology partners and from other industries, it's about having that tie to the future and investing in each of those facets. So what I want to do next is just look at how we approach in an agnostic way, brownfield extension, but also tiebacks and obsolescence. Firstly, the agnostic approach. We hear the word agnostic quite a lot, but what do I actually mean in this sense? For Baker Hughes, it's about having the right technology, the right solutions optimized in a system for each of those given scenarios, be it a brownfield extension, be it an upgrade, be it an obsolescence issue that we're working with our customers on. And where Baker Hughes have delivered the OEM, this is our bread and butter. We do this, and we have a very long history of successful installations, and that's where we leverage over 40 years of experience in the controls business to implement and introduce those upgrades, those tiebacks, using Subsea 5, our well-established mod pod, to get that full backwards compatibility offering. And where we're not the OEM, yes, it's more challenging, but again, we can leverage that core expertise in systems analysis with our controls teams, with our controls systems engineers, to analyze the system that's already established and look at how best to integrate into it. And that's where we can then further leverage our portfolio of integrated trees and controls products, and then deliver them with that OTD certainty. It's all about having that on-time delivery certainty that we can all plan around with the customers, so that we're then again implementing the solutions in a way that limits downtime, limits loss of production, and obviously maximizes recovery. And across all of these, what we bring for all of the offerings is that toolbox of competitive structured products. It really, really is amazing what we've been able to achieve on the journey over the last 24 months, where we've come. And when we link that to our commercially innovative execution models as part of Subsea Connect and our Subsea Connect strategy, it's a really, really amazing what we can do on a global scale when we work collaboratively with our customers. But like I said, it's all about introducing those solutions to minimize and avoid those shutdowns. So let's go into a bit more detail around integrating into a non-OEM system with some of our products, and then we'll go on to some of those case studies. So integrating into a non-OEM system really does require us to leverage on all our domain expertise to ensure that we're doing it in an optimized fashion. And we have a number of products available to us today and that we have delivered that enable us to do this. We're able to integrate our mod pod subsea control module into non-Baker Hughes host structures. The analogy of the square peg into a round hole fits fairly well here, where achieving and getting interfaces to marry up requires some innovative thinking. We're also able to integrate our upgraded Subsea 5 into subsea control modules, and then with a range of additional power diplexers and comms filters, we're then able to overlay onto existing infrastructure with minimal disruption. It's all about working up front collaboratively with the customer, analyzing how the system's performing, and then looking at how best we can deploy some of this technology. And then on the top side, we're able to expand existing master control stations with our compact master control station, which doesn't require significant footprint topside, and it can work alongside the existing system. But ultimately what we're able to bring is a significant performance upgrade as fields start to age and as we see obsolescence issues arising. So we're able to really improve things such as bandwidth, data readback, improve things like instrumentation. And that's what I want to spend the rest of this session doing. I want to dive into seeing some of these products in action, and that's why what I've got next is a few case studies that I will talk around. So going into it then, the first case study that I'd like to go over is a Gulf of Mexico field expansion, where we use the harmonized MCS. So this wasn't the largest field expansion, so it was a 2-well expansion, but those expansions were taking place at separate drill centers on top of an existing controls infrastructure. So the field layout, as you can see by the system schematic included there, was not the most complex, but being established, there was a fair amount that we had to take into account so that we wouldn't impact what was already there. So what we did, we carried out a feed study collaboratively with the customer to understand the comms, power, systems performance, software protocols, etc., to look at how best we could integrate. And then we went and reached back to our product catalog. And the solution that we opted for used a new topside MCS, compact MCS, and then with time division multiplexing and token exchange between the two MCSs, we were able to bring on 2 additional wells into that system without any impact to the established field. We were able to successfully integrate our LSCM, which is our low-speed copper modem, on top of the non-OEM, so non-Baker Hughes control system. And this is just a really good example of us adapting to our customers' need, understanding how paramount it was to avoid those costly shutdowns, and then implement a solution with our structured, established products. The second case study I'd like to look at is a little bit different. It's on a slightly different scale, different region as well. So the second case study is based out of, it's from on the Norwegian continental shelf. And what we'll do is I'll just talk you through it when it appears on screen. If I could have the next slide, please. So the next case study is a Norwegian continental shelf case study. It focuses in on a field obsolescence issue, an upgrade, and the customer was very, very clear that they didn't want to have to recover any of the trees. These are they were non-Baker Hughes trees, and there were 27 wells that required that support. There were challenges around there being multiple subsea control module and DHPT configurations that we had to tend with, and there was a need for improved instrumentation. So we conducted that feed study with the customer, leveraging our expertise in this area, and came up with a solution that would use our well-established structured mod pod and Semstar 5 configuration in a single variant. But the challenge we had, again going back to the square peg round hole, was interfacing it onto the host structures. Obviously that required some innovative thinking, and we developed and qualified a series of adapter plates that enabled us to marry up to the existing interfaces so that we would see the same level of hydraulic, power and comms functionality that was already there and matched to the trees. So we also enhanced the comms performance with a subsea router and an open architecture. And the image that you've got in the middle of the screen there is our Baker Hughes mod pod with that adapter plate fitted, going through a pre-deployment check. So the project results. So like I said, there was a multi-vendor system that needed us to come in and perform the upgrade. 27 wells. We deployed 27 SCMs that they're now installed and operational. But significantly, we were able to increase the performance of the system in terms of bandwidth comms, but also in terms of instrumentation. And we were able to address the issues around the DHPT configurations with our Semstar 5R. So that's what you can see in the top right-hand side. That is an external to the subsea control module DHPT canister. And these were installed at the same time as the subsea control module, and it meant that we could effectively manage that DHPT obsolescence issue. And the key point with this is that we were able to do it and execute it within the timeframes, the shutdown timeframes that the customer had given us in terms of those windows, on budget and on schedule. And really that's what it's all about. It's about understanding the needs of the customer and then coming in with that optimized solution that we've developed, as part of the strategy. So really, just to summarize, I could go through many more case studies, but there's a couple of examples on screen that I've just included for a little bit of reference. And the key message that I want to drive home here is We're doing this now. We've got that extensive global experience that we can draw on, those 40 years plus of working in this area. That global presence in terms of manufacturing, in terms of that support, that footprint enables us to reach on a genuine global scale those backwards compatible structured product offerings with those agnostic upgrades that we can bring together as a system and execute as a coherent strategy with that minimal disruption is really, really world leading. And then ultimately, we can do this at a lower TOTEX, understanding that it's not just about that upfront cost of the equipment, of the CapEx. It's about understanding what you need through life. And that's something that Baker Hughes are continuing to lead and deliver on today. I want to say thank you very much for the opportunity, and I will hand you back now to Marina.
Yes, thank you very much, Alistair. In fact, we're going now to listen to Vidar and his Terminator presentation. So I'll straight hand over to him as we have a session also with Tore to come after. Vidar, please.
Thank you, Marina. Thank you so much. It's really a pleasure for me to join this event, and really thank you for allowing me to present the Terminator. And thank you for the introduction previously. So first thing the people may see is that this technology that we're soon going to present has been nominated for the 2020 World Oil Awards. I think you mentioned it, Marina, for the best deep water technology. And, you know, we're all excited about that and really crossing fingers and hoping for an award there in the middle of next month. As a starting for this, I thought I would just focus a little bit more on what's really out there traditionally being used in terms of methods for cutting subsea wellheads, and look at a bit around their essential factors. So typically after a subsea well has been properly plugged and secured, the wellhead had traditionally been cut by a mechanical, abrasive, or an explosive cutting technology. The mechanical cutting is normally handled by a traditional drilling rig, like a semi-sub, just after the well has been finished, or it could even be done by a heavy well intervention vessel that would run the cutter of any shape and form on a drill pipe string. The abrasive water jet cutting could be run from a similar drilling rig as well, but really makes more sense to run that from a light well intervention vessel for the obvious cost-saving reasons, and because it doesn't really have to be run on a drill pipe either. So same goes really for an explosive in terms of the vessel selection. Limiting factors though, or in some cases the real cost drivers for the solutions would be different for the different solutions, and I sort of try to point that out in this slide. So while the drill pipe deployed cutting is recognized on a very effective solution, and the sprig rate is driving the cost up. We can obviously reduce that vessel spread rate by selecting a cheaper vessel, like a light intervention vessel, and then apply a different technology like the abrasive cutting. While then again, that would introduce new limitations like the water depth that we are allowed to do the cutting on. We would also require a bigger deck space, and we would also require a fairly larger crew. The explosive alternative, on the other hand, would help us out on most of these points, but would add to a higher risk when it comes to the EHS on board, and also a higher risk of damaging the barriers that are already put in place in the well, in the plugged well. So here is really where the combining of the existing technologies from oilfield equipment and oilfield services has introduced this new wellhead cutting technology, allowing us to remove all of these limitation factors listed above. So let's have a look at the tool. The Terminator tool is really consisting of well-known and proven technologies, and starting with the Hercules knife cutter that you will see to the bottom left there, and the knife sticking out. Further up, the first yellow piece would be your H4 wellhead connector. And above there again, you will have a Subsea hydraulic motor that will be driving the cutter. All these items are powered by the ROV, and the ROV is hydraulic through hot steps on the tool. And you can see the orange gripper bars and the orange hot steps receptacles on the tool there. And I will soon go through the running sequence of the tool. But before we do that, I just want to summarize the benefits we are achieving with this tool. And as listed on this slide, really we're allowed to use a low-cost vessel. We are much more flexible on that because of the minimum deck space. And we will see that in our case study. We only need 2 persons, so 1 on night, 1 on day. We are not having any limitations on water depth because all the hydraulic power is coming from the ROV, so we don't have a hydrostatic pressure that we will have to walk against. And we also have obtained a very effective cutting time. And then, of course, maybe most important, the reduced EHS risk to the personnel on board. But in addition to that, I would like also to point out the minimized environmental footprint we have due to the reduced power consumption required. So all the power coming from the ROV, or in the event that we need more power, it would typically come from a subsea power source, either attached to the ROV or to the tool itself. And that again means that we don't need a separate umbilical to run this, which will reduce the cost, but also the handling and running complexity around it. Another very differentiator on this technology is that you would actually be able to read the cut. So once the cut is done, the tool will give us a positive feedback to surface. After the cutting, the wellhead can essentially be retrieved together with the tool or put together on the deck. So due to the low complexity, there is also one very important here, and that is using off-the-shelf component. There's a very low, short mobilizing time. We're actually talking about hours, and then like for the case study, we're gonna go through very shortly. Of course, subject to availability. I think that summarizes the benefits. So let's have a look at the tool and how we run that in specifics. So the tool is mobilized as one unit, and we space it out onshore based on the cutting depth below the wellhead. We will then store it on the deck, and from the shore base, transport it from there to the well location, and then lift it as one piece overboard using the vessel compensated crane and lower it down on the wire. The ROV, the vessel ROV would then be down there, guide it, stab it into the wellhead, make sure that the H4 connector is landed well and properly on the wellhead. Then the ROV will activate the H4 connector, locking it into the wellhead, apply power to the knives, expanding the knives so they will reach the ID of the casing to be cut, simultaneously provide power to the motor that will turn the knives. And then it's really a matter of playing with the right power on the knives and the number of rotations per minute to obtain the perfect cut. And we have done extensively testing in-house, onshore, for trying to find the right recipe here. And really, it's really a lot of testing going on, have been going on. And then finally, once the cut is through, we will read a pressure drop, and that can be read off in the ROV cabin and surface. So from there, it's really ripping the wellhead out of the ground, or as for the case study, actually pump the whole wellhead out together with the can, which the wellhead was installed in. And then we could be retrieving the whole thing and placing it on the vessel deck. Of course, provided that you have the height on the crane and so on and so forth. So that was really the easy of the tool. So let's have a closer look at the case study. So the tool was first deployed here in Norway together with Wintershall earlier this year on their Totates exploration well. That was drilled in a very close to a very environmental sensitive area just south of the Lofoten, which is a very fishery rich area here in Norway. And really many of their technical selections for that well was driven by the fact that the well being drilled in such an environmental area where a lot of public focus, not least from environmental activists. And we will soon talk to Tore, the drilling manager for the operation at that time, and he will tell us more on the experiences from the operation. Looking at the main picture here, this is from the vessel operation of that operation, and it really proves the simplicity of the tool and the minimal deck space that it requires. So before we turn to Tore, I would just like to, on behalf of Baker Hughes perspective, just focus and really tell you that we are proud of the short mobilization time that we did for this operation. We were actually talking about hours. And then again, also the short time it took for us from picking up the tool, overboard, running down to 360 meters, cut the casing in 35 minutes, and then retrieve up and back on deck within only 2.5 hours. And most importantly, with no EHS incidents whatsoever. And I think it's fair to say that our crew did a very good service job there, excellent job. So going forward, we really see this as giving the customers a flexibility going forward, and particularly in terms of vessel selection. But it would essentially reduce the totex of the operations, and maybe also in these days, very important, reduce the carbon footprint, and also reduce the EHS risk for their operations going forward. So I think with that, I'll say over to you, Marina, and please take us through in the further discussion. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Vidar. Very good indeed. Tore, welcome again. And could you please elaborate on what the use of this Terminator tool meant for Wintershall DEA and why this solution was selected, please?
Okay, so first of all, thank you for inviting me into this session. It's a pleasure to be here today. Like Vidar mentioned, the Totaltis exploration well project was in a very environmentally sensitive area. And we had a clear focus from the start of planning this well that we would minimize our environmental footprint as much as possible. So every single decision from right from the start of well design or concept selection through to execution and through to P&A was always prioritized with the environment in mind. Based on that, we selected some different solutions to what might be common or what might be the default. And one example, as Vidar already mentioned, was the use of a can ductor with a pre-installed Baker wellhead. The use of a can ductor meant that we could pre-install the can ductor with the wellhead before the rig arrived on location by the use of a vessel. And it also means that we don't have to drill to install a conductor. The conductor is already in place with the can ductor. So we reduce emissions to sea from drilling, we reduce emissions from cementing, we reduce the time the rig is on location, reducing fuel burn, and so on. So that kind of decision making went throughout this project. Based on this, it was clear that we would find a solution to recover the wellhead after plugging the well, not using the rig. So the rig would plug the well and leave location to reduce the emissions even further. Now, at that point, we started looking at what is the available technology. Actually, we did start looking at that earlier, and we had 3 options. One is an option of joining a consortium using a oceaneering cutting equipment, and they would go for a campaign. The second option was a abrasive cutting, like Vidar described briefly. But it was new technology, unproven, and it would take a big vessel because they needed quite some deck footprint to set up that system, and it had not been proven in that water depth. And then the third option was the Terminator, which at the time was a brand new technology. And the oil business being a fairly conservative business, we had to go several rounds and had some interesting discussions and conversations before deciding to go for the Terminator. And it was based on exactly the same logic that we had before. How can we minimize the environmental footprint when we are going to recover the wellhead? So we then chose to go with the Terminator based on the environmental footprint, basically. And also, like Vidar described, the extremely short mobilization time and the very small footprint enabled us to wait until a suitable vessel was available and then press the go button, mobilize the equipment and people, and go out and do the job. That made it a very, very efficient job.
Yeah, that's thank you for that response. And what about the reduced deck space and the crew needed that the Terminator offers?
Well, I think the reduced deck space and the crew is important. Like I said, it enabled us to bide our time and look at the vessel market for when a low cost but still suitable vessel became available for a time window that suited our operation. So with the minimum footprint on deck and with the minimum number of equipment and people, you can mobilize quickly. So that's a very important part of this.
Very good, thank you. And maybe a question for both Tore and Vidar is, if Baker Hughes were to develop a Terminator 2.0, what would you hope to see different or included?
You go first, Tore.
Okay, thank you. And Vidar, please step in if I'm not on the right path here. But I believe that the current version of the Terminator can cut a 13 3/8-inch casing. I hope I'm still coming across. I'm getting a network connection message.
We can hear you fine.
We can hear you well.
Okay, thank you. So I believe the Terminator can cut a 13 3/8-inch casing, but not currently a 20-inch. Is that correct?
Oh, I'm very glad to confirm you're wrong there. So absolutely, it can. So we actually cut all the way to 36-inch. So no,
Okay.
we're able to cut the bigger sizes for sure, but we haven't done it offshore. So, but there are wells in going forward. So absolutely, in terms of single strings and multi strings, tools being prepared for that and bigger sizes. So, but I also think maybe in the future, you know, we're in a digital world, and personally, I would like to see maybe us bringing on some more sensor technology down there so that we understand better what's going on during the cut, because that's really the way for us to improve the tool. You know, if we don't know the challenge and what's sort of hindering us to do an even more better cut, we don't know to start. So I hope to see that we will implement maybe more digital sensors down there to allow us to really do a smooth cut down there.
And maybe I can add one more thing there, Vidar, to really try and challenge you a bit. We use the Terminator to cut the casing and then retrieve the conductor. When you retrieve a conductor, it has to stand up on deck. It's not normal to lay it down. That means that you cannot have anything sticking out of the bottom. So for our operation, that meant that we had to recover the Terminator after the cut and then go down and retrieve the conductor. So here's a big challenge for you. Is it possible to have a cutter technology that leaves nothing sticking out below the actual cut afterwards?
Interesting. Good challenge there, Tore. We will take it on. Bang on.
Yeah, what would you say, Tore? What requirements would an operator be looking for in the future when cutting wellheads besides the EHS and safety?
Obviously, like you, obviously, like you mentioned, Marina, the HSE and safety are the most important factors, and we are continuously working on those. The Terminator has given us a great tool in that respect. When it comes to the next priority, call it priority number 3, if you like, it's obviously efficiency. And efficiency consists of many factors. Time, and cost. Those two are linked. But also what you have mentioned already is the quick mobilization, the simplicity of using the system. Like you said, I don't know, I think we actually only had one operator on board our vessel, Vidar, that was on kind of a flex shift. So that's something to think about as well. So the equipment is so simple to use that you don't need a big crew. You only need one operator, which is basically handling the cutting. And that, I think, is what we are looking for.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tore. I think I have a few questions from the audience for actually Alistair's presentation. So I think I'm allowed one or two questions before I conclude. So Alistair, the question for you is, how much experience does BH have in integrating into non-OEM?
So really good question. We have some experience of integrating into non-OEM systems. In terms of obviously there's multiple layers of technology that we can integrate. So we talked at a very top level, at the system level, in terms of integrating on the top side, integrating Subsea, integrating our Subsea control modules, and also down to the SEM level as well. So in terms of integrating our SEMs onto legacy and aging assets. So it's an area of the industry that we see growing at the moment as people want to increase the performance at the tail end of the field's life. So it's something that we're seeing more and more of, and it's definitely something that we are starting to do more and more of ourselves as well. So we're obviously trying to position ourselves so that we're at the forefront and leading that. And we're getting the opportunity to do that more and more as we grow our install base on those opportunities.
Okay. I think I'm going to go back to Vidar now, and before closing, and Vidar and Tore, if you have any final remarks before we close.
No, I think I just want to say thanks to Tore for joining, and just emphasize the importance of working together. I mean, Baker Hughes as a technologies company, we're nothing without challenges. We can't come up with a new product if we don't know what the industry needs. So really glad actually here on the direct Tore is serving us a task, and as I say, that's really how new solutions are being developed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vidar. It's been a pleasure, and I would like to say that the flexibility and sort of energy, the eagerness, should I say, shown by Baker to get this system out there and working was very much a part of our decision.
Good.
Okay, very good. So thank you everyone for joining today. Thank you, Vidar, Tore, Alistair again. Remember, if you missed any of today's session, or you have a colleague who would like to see them, all recording are available on the Subsea Connect TV channel. If we missed any questions you want to be sure are answered, please send them through the chat or on the TV channel. Again, I encourage everyone to visit the Subsea Connect channel that is currently featuring the Solutions Fair, where you can also enter the competition to win one of our Aptara briquettes. So you can either click the link in your email for the channel or visit us at bakerhughes.com/subseaconnecttv. The site will remain live for the next week, so you can catch up on any sessions or information you may have missed. Also today wraps up the third and final week of Subsea Connect TV in Europe, Africa and Russia time zones. On October the 13th, we will be live in India. Then on October the 27th, we will be in Australia and Southeast Asia. So registration for these events will launch later this week. Once again, we have some great speakers lined up, so please keep an eye on social media for registration opening. So thank you to everyone who has presented, listened, and joined us throughout the last 3 weeks. We appreciate your time and hope to connect again in the near future. Thank you all, and good day.
Hello.
Bye.
Thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you very much.